Good Saturday morning. Welcome to Think and Grow Rich, the Entrepreneur's Journey Study. I'm Paul Martinelli, guiding you through the book. This is a book that I have been studying for most of my life. I was handed this copy of the book. It was brand new when I got it from my first mentor, Patrick Hayes, back in 1991. I was just 23 years old, entrepreneur, struggling with a commercial cleaning business. And this book and Patrick's mentorship and guidance and masterminding me through the book made all the difference in my life. So we are looking at chapter 5. This is the chapter titled Specialized Knowledge. And in our email we sent out to you, we talked about we were gonna kind of do a double teaching today: specialized knowledge and organized planning. I decided against doing that as I went through all of my notes and kind of did a rehearsal teaching. I realized specialized knowledge, this is going to take probably 45 minutes or an hour to teach, so I thought I'd just keep it tight here. Also, before I start, I just want to congratulate the John Maxwell team. 10 years. You know, it was 10 years ago this month, on March 2nd, 2011, I was hosting a launch call. I had just partnered with John Maxwell, and we launched the first official team members on March 2nd, 2011, and then had our first IMC International Maxwell certification in August of 2011. So this is really the 10-year anniversary, and they just did a fantastic online virtual training. It was amazing. Our whole team, all of our faculty members were there. Thousands of team members, alumni were there, brand new members from all over the world. We held it on a platform called Hopin. Great way to do a virtual event. I just want to congratulate John Maxwell, Mark Cole, the CEO, and of course, Chris Robinson, the vice president of the John Maxwell team. Just amazing leadership to pull something like that off. And then especially to all the admin team members, those of you behind the scenes, the folks behind the scenes who were keeping everybody organized, administering the program, making sure that everybody was able to log in and get all their information and follow the agenda, know where to go through a virtual platform. You guys are always amazing. And congratulations to Surin Papa in Romania, our friends Dorota and Ivana in Poland, Ezekiel in France, leading our foreign language partners, as well as our whole Spanish team. Just an amazing job. I think there were members from probably over 100 different countries at this IMC, and every single time the event gets better, and I grow, and everybody in the program grows. If you're a new John Maxwell team member, if you just went through the certification, congratulations. Great to have you as part of the team. I look forward, as one of the mentors and faculty members, of continuing to pour into your life. Let's jump into this book, Think and Grow Rich. Specialized knowledge. You know, this book changed my life. This is the copy of the book that Patrick Hayes gave me. He was my mentor in 1991. I was a struggling entrepreneur, and Patrick handed me this copy of the book. No, it was brand new when he handed it to me. I've read the book, oh my goodness, thousands of times, and he didn't just kind of give me the book. He mentored me through the book and said that he was gonna kind of mastermind with me, and we got a small group of people together and really took the book apart. And that's what we're trying to do here through this lesson, through kind of the entrepreneur's journey. I think it's important here, though, for entrepreneurs, for us to understand that this is really the moneymaker, this chapter, because this is where entrepreneurs can get paid. We can get paid for our specialized knowledge. It's our specialized knowledge that makes us unique and different in the marketplace. But notice, although most people will call the chapter specialized knowledge, in the heading, it's specialized knowledge, personal experience, or observations. See, it's not just having specialized knowledge. Observations, insights, and ideas that we have as entrepreneurs can allow us to take our idea, can take our unique perspective and bring it to the marketplace and exchange those ideas, those concepts, those observations, those personal experiences, that specialized knowledge. We can exchange that for value. And of course, the more value we bring, the more money and income we can generate. Let's look on page 85, and in the comments below, there's a place where you can download a copy of the book that I'm teaching from right here. You can download this copy of the book. There's also some free gifts and some teaching notes from session number 1 that you can have. if you want to go and sign up. And you'll also be put on the email list, so you'll get notifications of future calls. Next week, we're going to go out of order. Don't miss next week, a double dose of Paul. It's Paul squared. It's not me twice. It's me and my mentor, Paul Sheely. And we're gonna jump out of order next Saturday, and we're gonna teach the brain, the mind, and the sixth sense all in one with just a master thinker, Paul Sheely. You're gonna absolutely love it. So we're on page 85, line 1 through 14. He says, there are two kinds of knowledge. One is general, and the other one is specialized general knowledge. No matter how great in quantity or variety it may be, is of little use in the accumulation of money. General knowledge is of little use in the accumulation of money. It's different than what I was taught my whole life. I was taught, you got to get a good education, and that would be your ticket home. He says, the faculties of the great universities possess in aggregate practically every form of general knowledge known to civilization, but most of the professors have very little or no money. They specialize on teaching knowledge, but they do not specialize on the organization or the use of the knowledge. Knowledge will not attract money. That's line 8. You might want to highlight, underline that one. Knowledge will not attract money. If you think about it, if knowledge were the key, it would cost you to Google search something. It would cost you to go to the public library. That's where all the knowledge is, right? But knowledge is given away for free. He says knowledge will not attract money unless it's organized and intelligently directed through practical plans of action to the definite end of the accumulation of money. This is exactly what James Allen meant in the chapter on thought and purpose in As a Man Thinketh. He said, until thought is linked with purpose, there's no intelligent accomplishment. What's Hill saying? He's saying until you take knowledge and you organize it and you intelligently direct it through a practical plan to a definite end, what's the point? Other than that, it's just kind of interesting knowledge, but you can't really extract value or exchange it for value. He says the lack of understanding of this fact has been the source of confusion to millions of people who falsely believe that knowledge is power. How many times do we hear that? Knowledge is power, knowledge is power. Well, it's really not power if it's not directed. It's really not powerful if it's not used. Millions of people have kind of fallen and died on this hill that, if I go to college and I get a great education and I accumulate all this knowledge, it's somehow, when I come out of college, the marketplace is going to, hail to me and open doors of opportunity. Not the case. Not at all. He said, it is nothing of the sort. Knowledge is only potential power. Knowledge is only potential power. It becomes power only when and if it's organized into definite plans of action and directed to a definite end. See, there is no potential in an education. Potential is one of those things that we don't see inside ourselves, is it? We can see it in other people. And we've been programmed to believe that potential is outside of us, that there's potential in a good job, potential in getting in with the right company, potential in meeting the right mate, potential in, getting this degree or this certification, that certification. See, that's not where the potential lies. The education, the knowledge, the contacts, the opportunities, all those things are fantastic ways for us to express our potential. But the potential is, was, and will always be within you. And that, I think, is what separates an entrepreneur. See, an entrepreneur doesn't hang their hat, doesn't look at their future being dependent on someone else or something else. An entrepreneur isn't going to say, well, because I've got this certification, I'm owed something. You're not going to find that level of entitlement with an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is going to, just absolutely knows, hey, if it's going to be up to me. I'm going to have to create it. I'm going to have to work it. I'm going to have to be unique. I'm going to have to be different. I'm going to have to not only have the knowledge, I'm going to have the plan. I'm going to have the focus and the discipline to work the plan. I'm going to have the vision to bring the plan to fruition, to a specific end. I'm going to have to develop personal skills and leadership abilities to be able to attract people and keep them in my employment so that we can work together as a team. Big difference here in our understanding of how we use knowledge between entrepreneurs and the average person. Big difference. Let's drop down to line 24. It's one of my favorite. He says here, an educated man is one who has so developed the faculties of his mind. So he's talking about how do we define an educated person? And he's saying an educated person is a person who's developed the faculties of their mind so to the degree that he may acquire anything he wants. Think about this. Anything he wants, or its equivalent, without violating the rights of other people. That's what an educated person is. A person who can acquire whatever it is that they want without violating the rights of other people. You see, for most of us, we've been programmed and we've been taught to gather all of our information from our outside world. You know, you can sit down with a 5-year-old and ask a 5-year-old. I've got a little special 5-year-old boy in my life, Caleb, and I can ask Caleb, what are your 5 senses? And he'd light up like a beam, and I can see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. He can rattle those things right off and be proud that he can. I could sit down with a Harvard graduate and say, you know what, do me a favor. Share with me, what are these faculties of the mind that Napoleon Hill's talking about here? What are the faculties that successful people have developed over the ages to be able to accumulate whatever it is that they want, to accumulate or attract or acquire whatever it is that they want without violating? What are those faculties? And you know, at best they would be guessing. We're not taught these in school. We are always taught about the lower side of our nature, the physical side of who we are. But simultaneously, as we've been talking about through this whole program, we live on 3 planes of existence. We are spiritual beings. We have been gifted with an intellect, intellectual faculties, and we live in and through a physical body. And most of us have been programmed, follow the leader, listen to what the teacher says, do what the other kids are doing, follow your brother, pay attention, listen up. Most people tune into the news to determine what they think. I'm going to suggest, if you're going to allow what you think to be determined by what someone says or what you see other people do, you had better be certain that they are getting phenomenal results in their life in those areas, or you're going to end up getting what they get. So what are these 6 intellectual faculties? There's 6 faculties of the mind. There's perception, there's reason, will, memory, imagination, and intuition. These are the 6 intellectual faculties: perception, reason, will, memory, imagination, and intuition. And these are like mental muscles. And most of us have been programmed to use them in the wrong way. See, when we were young, we would imagine all kinds of things. You take a 4 or 5-year-old, put them in front of the kitchen cabinets. It's not long before they've got Tupperware all over the floor, and they're making, spaceships and flying saucers and construction sites and all kinds of things. They're using their imagination to create a life beyond the conditions and circumstances they're in now. But as adults, what do? We imagine the worst case scenario. We imagine all the things that could go wrong. All the reasons why something won't work. When we're young, children develop their memory both ways. They can remember the past and they can actually remember the future. They use their imagination and they can create something into the future, and then they can recall it and they remember, think about it, they remember their future, an idea that they had into the future. As adult learners, we work with our memory just in one way. For most of us, when we think of the intellectual faculty of the will, most of us have been programmed that this means willpower, right? We got to assert ourselves. And really what the faculty of the will means is our ability to concentrate. It's sustained focus to the exclusion of all outside distractions. We use the intellectual faculty of our will to stay focused on what we want. Every successful entrepreneur has a very highly developed faculty of the will. They don't allow what's going on in the outside world to take them off base. This is why so many small businesses have been able to make it through the COVID crisis. It was the razor's edge activity that truly saved some businesses. I know Kay Salerno and Shyla Morris, 2 just fantastic friends of mine, and the epitome of what entrepreneurs are. They own a chain, a franchise of restaurants out on the West Coast. And as soon as COVID hit, they immediately just stayed laser focused. How do we keep our restaurants open? What can we do? And they started to, boom, they activated their imagination. They started thinking beyond conditions and circumstances. Their business survived. Every single one of their locations made it through the COVID crisis. Why? Even in California, where they were completely shut down. Why? Because they used these intellectual faculties to such a degree that they could create, attract, or acquire whatever it is that they wanted without violating the rights of other people. This is, in my fully resourced program. If you don't have that program, send an email to rick@paulmartinelli.net. If you do not have the fully resourced program, I do an entire hour on these faculties and how we use them in decision making. You have to be able to develop this because you're not taught this in school. We're not taught how to use these intellectual faculties to form an idea or a concept in our mind, to form a thought. Thinking is the highest function of which we're capable of. And if we're reduced to our thinking to what we see is what we get. And I don't know about you, when I look around the world today, I don't know if I want to get what people are laying down. I want a life beyond. Maybe sometime in July I'll be able to, have a backyard barbecue, or maybe sometime in the future I'll be able to be free. I want to think beyond that. Let's jump over to page 87, line 64. He says, before you can be sure of your ability to transmute desire into its monetary equivalent, it will require specialized knowledge of the service, merchandise, or profession you intend to offer in return for the fortune. Perhaps you may need much more specialized knowledge than you have the ability or inclination to acquire. And if this should be true, you may bridge your weakness through the aid of your mastermind group. This right here is priceless. See, you got to remember, I'm reading this chapter in this book. It's 1991. I'm a janitor. I'm making $20,000 a year. I'm struggling. I'm frustrated. I'm tired. I'm getting beat up in the marketplace. And inside, there's this little guy inside my head saying, who do you think you are? You'll never be able to do it. This doesn't work. I was just full of self-judgment. And here he says that one of the things that I could do is I could use my specialized knowledge, and I could actually expand the value that I bring to the marketplace. That I can take whatever it is that I'm doing and I can become a specialist. Well, I'm thinking I clean toilets. Like, how specialized knowledge, I'm a janitor. What kind of specialized knowledge could there be? And it was because I was in a mastermind group. John Maharaj, Dr. Giuseppe Coronella, Jim Fanton, Chet Tart, Vance Carpenter. These were guys. There were 7. Leslie Coates. These were guys who were in my mastermind group. We studied this book with Patrick Hayes for 3 years. We'd get to the end and we'd start all over again. We'd get to the end, we'd start all over again. And we all started a mastermind. What could we do different in our businesses that would separate us from the competition? Now, this is 1991. And this is, think about what was going on in the world. At this time, the AIDS epidemic was pretty big. And a young girl tragically contracted AIDS in Florida. Her name was Kimberly Bergalis. I'll never forget it. From a dentist. It was the first time. It was the first time that there was a transmission from a doctor to a patient. It happened at a dentist. It's why dentist offices has changed everything. Remember, if you're like me, I'm 55 years old. When we used to go to the dentist, the dentist barely wore gloves, right? Never masks. You go to a dentist now, it's like spacesuits, right? Plastic on everything they touch. But when we were growing up, they didn't do that. They have a cup, you spit in the bowl. Right? Germs everywhere. There's no autoclave for all the things. And then the tragedy happened with Kimberly Bergalis. And in my mastermind meeting, the guys came around and we started to think, what can I do different as a janitor? And we realized, you know what, we could begin to implement and add to our cleaning services things that really mattered to people, like HEPA filters on vacuum cleaners, so that when any other cleaning company would be vacuuming your office, they would turn on their vacuum cleaner and the big puffy cloud of dust would come out, because that's how vacuum cleaners work, right? They suck air in and blow air out. And usually when they're blowing air out, they're putting out as much bacteria and microbials and dust as they're picking up off the carpet. We came up with the idea of using microfiber cloths. That these are the same cloths that are used in surgery centers and surgical rooms, in sterile rooms, in chemotherapy clean rooms. Why? Because they've been scientifically proven to pick up more of the bacteria and viruses left behind. Other cleaning companies were just using the same rag from one office to the next office to the next office. And so we started to specialize in healthy cleaning. And it changed my business, boom, through the roof. I mean, as soon as I went into a dentist office and said, look, these are the things that we're going to do when we clean your office, any other cleaning company that wasn't doing that didn't stand a chance to compete against this. This was the application of specialized knowledge. But here's the beautiful thing, is that the idea didn't come from me, it came through me through the collective of a mastermind group. This is why for the last, for 3 or 4 weeks, I've been just kind of pounding the table and saying, join a mastermind group. Today, this Saturday, right now, I've got 14 people in town in South Florida, and we're spending 2 days masterminding together. Thinking about our businesses, thinking about our lives, thinking about our goals and our hopes and our dreams, and collectively, taking all of our intellectual faculties and saying, how can we help each other? How can we serve each other? And for the next year, that's going to be our sole focus. If you are not part of a mastermind group, if you don't want to join one of mine, that's fine. But get in one. And make sure that when you do, that whoever's leading it has the awareness to apply this knowledge into your life. See, what my mastermind group did for me is it raised my standards. It raised my standards in the quality of my service. It raised the standards in how I managed my company, in how my logo looked on our cars, on our uniforms. I never used to have uniforms before my mastermind group. But if I was going to be a professional company, if I'm a professional cleaning service, because other than that, then why don't you hire the person out of the newspaper who puts the flyer underneath your windshield at the grocery store? If you're a professional cleaning company, you've got to look. They forced me to raise my standards. I say they forced me. They forced me. They did. They forced me. They encouraged me. They forced me through accountability. The mastermind group allowed me to see possibilities I couldn't see for myself. You can't see the picture when you're in the frame. They challenged me for what I was settling for. Let's drop down here on line 75. He says, the accumulation of a great fortune. Now, this is what I love this part, because there's other books that Napoleon Hill has written where he talks about his time, the 3-day interview he sat with Andrew Carnegie. So, the history of the book is, Napoleon Hill sat down with Carnegie for 3 days and did the interview. And then at the end of the 3 days, Andrew Carnegie commissioned Hill to write the book. And so for the next 20 years, Napoleon Hill does all the research before he actually writes the book, Think and Grow Rich. And in that interview, Napoleon Hill asks Andrew Carnegie what's necessary for someone to acquire a fortune. And like that, Andrew Carnegie says the accumulation of a fortune calls for power. He says power is acquired through highly organized, intelligently directed, specialized knowledge. But the person who accumulates the fortune doesn't have to have the knowledge. So this part, it's one of my favorite. I've got it memorized because it's so powerful. Line 75, the accumulation of great fortunes calls for power. And power is acquired through highly organized and intelligently directed, specialized knowledge. But that knowledge does not necessarily have to be in the possession of the person who accumulates the fortune. In other words, you don't have to have all the answers. And as entrepreneurs, that's what we understand. We aren't attached to having all the answers. We don't want to be right. Entrepreneurs don't want to be right. Entrepreneurs want to get it right. An entrepreneur doesn't want to implement their idea. An entrepreneur wants to implement the best idea. That's the thinking of an entrepreneur. I mean, for me, I've hired consultants. I've paid a consultant $25,000 for 2 hours of work. And then after I hired her and she helped me, I hired her again for another time to help me again. And that's a lot of money for a couple of hours worth of work. Not for what I got. Not for what I got. You got to ask yourself, what's the value of one really good idea? See, if you're an entrepreneur, you know. If you're not an entrepreneur, then maybe you don't know. But see, if you're an entrepreneur, you know if I get one idea and I apply it to my goal, to my dream, to my business, to my vision, because I've got one, because I've got a track I'm running on, if I get one idea that moves me further or faster, it's worth its price. It's worth its weight in gold. I've hired, it was this understanding that allowed me to buy my first personal growth and kind of marketing program. I bought it from Dan Kennedy in 1992 at one of those big events, Peter Lowe Productions in Orlando, Florida. I remember driving up to Orlando, Florida. Dan Kennedy was the last guy of like 17 speakers, the big pitch fest, where all the speakers come up, they talk for half an hour and they sell you something. Dan Kennedy was the last guy. And I was there, and I stayed all the way through. Most of the people had already left by the time he got up. And he was selling a program for $250. I had $285 in my bank account. And I can remember saying to my wife at the time, Alex, that we were going to buy this program, and she was so afraid, rightfully so. It was almost all the money we had. I can remember driving back from Orlando, and Alex crying in the car. And I just made her a promise. I said, I promise you, I will do the program. I'll follow the program. I'll do the program. And it was that program, that marketing program from Dan Kennedy, that was one of the linchpins of taking these principles from Think and Grow Rich, and using that process and system he taught that really helped me grow my business. And it was just a simple direct mail campaign, old school direct, 4 or 5 page letter targeted to potential customers. It was this lesson that had me, fly to Tennessee to learn how to polish in natural stone, how to polish granite and polish marble floors, that opened up a whole new profit center for me that I otherwise would never have had. See, I didn't have any of that knowledge. I didn't have the knowledge that the consultant had. I didn't have the knowledge that Dan Kennedy had. I didn't have the knowledge and the skill that the guys in Tennessee had around polishing marble. But I knew where to get it. He says on line 79, he says, the preceding paragraph should give hope and encouragement to the man with ambition to accumulate a fortune who has not possessed himself of the necessary education to apply such specialized knowledge as he may require. In other words, he's saying, hey, this should give you hope. If you're a high school dropout, this should give you hope that you don't have to have all the knowledge. This should give you hope. He says men sometimes go through their life suffering from inferiority complexes. I did this. The first half of my life, I believed that I was dumb and stupid. I'd never be able to amount to anything. He says men sometimes go through their whole life suffering from inferiority complexes because they are not men of education. The man who can organize and direct a mastermind group of men who possess knowledge useful in the accumulation of money is just such a man of education as any man in the group. That's powerful. See, the powerful thing about, a mastermind group is that chances are you're not going to be the smartest person in the group. If you're the smartest person in the group, you need a new group. If you're the most successful person in your group, you need a new group. You need to be challenged. See, it was from my mastermind group that I put processes and systems in my business. It's from my mastermind group that I learned how to create processes of duplication, even in this business, in the business I'm in now, and keep teaching, speaking, training, licensing, certification, the information industry. I've created processes and systems for people to write a book, to create a keynote, to do a webinar, to do their first product, their first program. All of that knowledge came from me being able to work with people who were just a little bit further ahead than me. And in some ways, they weren't even smarter than me, but they had awareness that I didn't have, which allowed them to see things that I couldn't see. Let's go over on page 88. He says, remember this, if you suffer from a feeling of inferiority because your schooling is limited, Thomas Edison had only 3 months of schooling during his entire life. He did not lack education, neither did he die poor. Henry Ford had less than a 6th grade schooling, but he managed to do pretty well for himself. See, listen, as entrepreneurs, we know this. Anything will work. Anything will work. If you're an entrepreneur, you know, and your idea will work. There's something unique about you. You have a giftedness. You have a talent. You have a skill. You have experiences and observations and ideas that other people don't have. You have a different perspective than other people don't have. And it's the accumulation of that specialized knowledge applied to a specific purpose that will really allow you to take this principle and exchange those ideas and concepts for value in the marketplace. It happens every single day. Right now, there's people who are buying binder clips and paper clips and rubber bands and rulers and thumbtacks and nails and hammers and screws and bolts of all sizes. These were all just ideas. Ever go into just a shoe store, like a regular, walk into a Foot Locker and just look at the difference in shoes? Any idea will work. Any idea will work if we'll apply this principle to it. Any idea you have will work. But as entrepreneurs, we know we've got to work it. We've got to be the one to be the difference maker. We celebrate the fact that we're different, that we have a unique perspective. Drop down to line 109, page 88. As knowledge is acquired, it must be organized and put into use for a definite purpose through practical plans. Knowledge has no value except that it can be gained for its application towards some worthy end. In other words, there's no good in just accumulating knowledge if it's not to a specific purpose. Gaining knowledge for knowledge's sakes is worthless. I mean, how many times do you see people who go, they go for this diploma and this diploma and this diploma and this, and they've got all the knowledge and no accomplishment. They've never really applied it to a specific purpose. It's great that they've gathered knowledge, but that's just interesting stuff at the end of the day. What are you going to do with it? How are you going to apply it? For an entrepreneur, that would bother us that we have, this knowledge and we're not doing something with it. We're not applying it. We're not adding value and serving. This is one reason why college degrees are not valued more highly. They represent nothing but miscellaneous knowledge. If you're contemplating taking additional schooling, first determine the purpose for which you want the knowledge you're seeking. Then learn where this particular sort of knowledge can be obtained from reliable sources. Look, can you hire it out? I mean, do you need to take that course to learn how to do the webinars, or can you hire somebody? Do you need to learn how to build an email list, or how to do Facebook ads, or how to start a YouTube channel, or can you hire somebody? There's great people who teach it, but do you need to learn it, or do you need the task done? Do you need to possess the knowledge, or can you rent it? You've got to really think. See, what's the real cost of learning? It's not just the money for the program. It's the time. It's the money. It's the focus. It's the distraction. It's the diversion of all of your creativity. It's the lack of oversight and accountability to yourself or to your team. There's a great cost to getting an education that far exceeds just the cost of the course of the program. You want to make sure it's not a distraction. Is this something you need? Is this something that's going to help you personally grow you? Or is it a task that can be done by someone else in your business? Most of the things that I see entrepreneurs spending money on doing is things that they could hire. I don't know how to make a PowerPoint slide, and I use PowerPoint slides all the time. I don't know how to take, I don't know how to get this video live on Facebook, but I've got lots of them. I don't know how to open up a YouTube channel, but I got one. I don't know how to build a website, but I got one. I don't know how the shopping carts work, but I've got them. I don't want to learn either. I want to stay really focused on what I do to the exclusion of all outside distractions. Here's the bottom line. We'll wrap this up. There's a law called the law of compensation. And the law of compensation is very clear. The amount of money you will earn is in direct proportion to three things. Number one, the need for what you do. There needs to be a need for what you do. For whatever product or service or program or whatever it is that you do, there needs to be a need. Number two is your ability to do it. Like, how good are you at what you do? The third is then, how difficult are you to replace? I always use the example of McDonald's French fries. Maybe I'm biased here because I love McDonald's French fries. Is there a need for McDonald's French fries? Well, I can tell you this: as long as this 55-year-old Italian guy in Jupiter, Florida is alive, there's a need for McDonald's French fries. Okay, and there's billions sold every year, right? So there's a great need for McDonald's French fries. That means that somebody's got to cook those French fries. So we can go down to McDonald's, you and I, we can go down to McDonald's and we could watch, the teenager kid, make the French fries. And maybe that teenage kid's been there for a year making French fries, and they got it down to the science. They know to push the button and drop the oil, right? They know to pull it up and shake it and put the salt in, and they can do the scooper thing, and they've got it down. But you and I can watch that person fulfill that need, and it's a great need. They've been doing it for a year, and in about 10 or 15 minutes, you and I can step in and do it probably 95% as well as they can. And because of that, they're not very difficult to replace in the marketplace. They're a quote unquote a dime a dozen. That task is just, but now here's the difference. What if that teenager is on time every day? What if that teenager works really well with the rest of the people? What if that teenager takes initiative and says, while the French fries are cooking, I'm going to go ahead and clean the front of the fryer, or I'm going to make sure that, while that's cooking, I'm going to go get ice because I noticed that we were low on ice. What if that teenager began to bring more value than what they were being paid for, which is just push the button, drop the fries, salt the fries, take a paycheck? Now all of a sudden, they've got job security. Now all of a sudden they start to make more money. But still, it's capped at some level. See, the law of compensation is very clear. The amount of money you earn is in direct proportion for the need for what you do, your ability to do it, and the difficulty there is in replacing you. And you control the ability of you to do it. You control that. You do that through acquiring this specialized knowledge, by bringing forward your life experience, by bringing forward your ideas. This is why this is the best part of an entrepreneurship, is because this is where we can get paid for our unique value, for what makes us special, what's special about you. What do you bring that's different than everybody else? If you're a speaker and a coach and a trainer, you know that there are some people who will only hear your voice. We've sold in the past, I've sold licenses to teach my teachings on Think and Grow Rich. You can go to my website if you'd like to teach this content, you can buy a license to teach it. You can get all my scripts and everything, and you can go and there are people who will only listen to your voice. They may hear me, but we hear with our ears, we listen with our emotions. And there's people who will just be emotionally attached to you, who will be connected to you, that you will connect with in ways that I never could. I mentioned it at the start of this video. We just had the John Maxwell team training. John Maxwell is probably the greatest communicator on the planet. But you know what? With 34,000 coaches now out there speaking and teaching and training John Maxwell content, there are people who want to learn John Maxwell's content from those individual coaches and not from John. Because there's something special about them. There's something unique. They can identify to them. There's a connection there. What's something special about you? What's an idea, concept, observation, opinion you have? What's a perception that you have that you can develop? What's a different way to do what you're doing to make it bigger, better, to add more value? Now, the need for what we do, again, for most of us, we had nothing to do to create that need, right? That need just already existed. If you're a coach or a speaker or a trainer, chances are you didn't do anything to create the need for public speaking or coaching. That need existed. If you're a dentist, if you're a real estate agent, you didn't create the need for real estate agents. There's a need for real estate agents. There's a need for all of us and even more needs. Now, we can influence the need. This is why you want to learn how to, you want to get really good at being able to communicate your value, to be able to articulate your value proposition. This is why you want to be really good at learning sales, so that you can guide people through an intelligence gathering to identify where they are in their life, what challenge or opportunity they have, and how you can uniquely help them. By doing that, you can actually kind of bring the need to their awareness in maybe a more profound way than it is right now. So even by understanding this law of compensation, the need for what you do, your ability to communicate that need, to bring that need into someone's awareness, the ability to do what you do, this is bringing your unique value, your unique giftedness, your unique potential gifted to you by God. And then, look, you get really good at what you do, then you become almost irreplaceable. You become almost irreplaceable. People will be, see, for most people, when they tell me, my customers say it's all about price, I say that's because you've got a Me Too product. See, I had that when I was in the cleaning business. I would go into a company and they, I'd say, hey, I'm licensed and bonded and insured, and my competition would say, me too. And I'd say, we do service 24 hours a day. They'd say, me too. I'd say, all of our guys have uniforms. They could say, me too. So I had to break free from all those me too. What could I do that was different? So then I said, well, we use only microfiber cleaning cloths. Oh. We use only HEPA vacuum filters. Ooh. We use a non-static spray bottle that doesn't attract dust. Ooh. We use only green cleaning chemicals, so we're not going to put toxins all. Oh. No me too there. And now all of a sudden, price wasn't the only issue. This is such a phenomenal chapter of the book. I want to thank you so much for spending your Saturday with me. Remember, if you're not part of a mastermind group and you're looking for one, I'd love for you to join mine. We've got groups that are just made with fantastic business professionals. You'd love to be part of one of these groups. If you're looking to grow yourself, check out the Fully Resource Program. It's a resource that it's a teaching program with a little bit of mentorship tied into it. It's a great starter program if you're really looking to kind of take that first program into personal growth and go a little bit deeper than what the average book would get you. Either way, thank you for staying tuned to this. And next week, Paul Sheely. We're going to be talking about the brain, the mind, and the sixth sense. So we're going to cover 3 chapters in 1 hour. Buckle up, bring a pad of paper and a pen. It's going to be epic. God bless, be well.